And they're in.
Oh, something just popped up on my computer, and it says she lost 293 pounds in 1 month. No exercise, no diet, called COVID-19. Okay, you guys were supposed to laugh.
I did. I chuckled.
Boss, whenever you're ready.
All righty.
Whenever I'm ready.
Give it a minute. People are still connecting.
Yeah, I still see people coming in. We'll just see all the names rolling in.
All right, I think it's okay.
I don't see additional people on my site. Should I?
Just have to click on the arrow down, and you can underneath all the pictures on the side. There's an arrow down. You can see everybody.
That's too easy.
All right. Well, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Troy McClellan. I'm your president and CEO of the Boca Chamber, and welcome to our virtual economic development committee meeting that we are still conducting on a monthly basis. We have a very special guest speaker today, Frank Barbieri, the chairman of our school board for Palm Beach County. Before we move along, though, with the meeting, I want to turn this over to Sophia on our team to give you some ground rules about how we're going to operate this meeting, how to ask questions, etc. So, Soph, go ahead.
Hi, everybody. Good afternoon. Welcome. Before we jump in, I just wanted to mention that we will be taking questions at the end of the presentation. Please feel free to ask your questions in the chat box throughout if anything does pop up, but I will ask them at the end. So to do so, if you go to the bottom of your Zoom screen, there should be an icon that says chat. If you click that, you'll be able to type in your question, or you can virtually raise your hand. And at the end, we can call on you and you can verbalize your question to Frank. Thank you.
Thanks, Sophia. And we are recording this meeting as well. So before I make just a few comments about Frank and turn it over to our committee chair, I just wanted to let everybody know on the call that this morning I stood with the mayor of Boca Raton, Scott Singer, and announced the launch of our initiative called Moving Business Forward. I'm sure all of you, as you do every Tuesday and Friday, read the CEO message that we put out. We mentioned it in there as well. And we're excited about being a part of reopening our market and reopening Boca and the bigger and larger initiative of reopening Florida. And so as you read, either as you heard at the press conference or as you read in the message, you know, we have some of the brightest business minds, and we're going to bring that expertise and that intellectual capital to the table, work with our local governments in South Palm Beach County, and be a part of the solutions, a voice at the table, so that we're all working collaboratively and making the best decisions for the health and safety of our community, but also for the businesses. As we all know, business is not going to look the same on the other side of this. So you will continue to receive a lot more information about this as we move forward. We're just excited to launch the initiative today. As a matter of fact, we had our very first task force meeting today, the day of launch, talking about the challenge of businesses as they bring employees back into the workplace, with school not resuming, and I know Frank will talk about that, the challenges that poses our workers as well. So you'll see a lot of activity in that. We will continue to share all that, and we may tap on your expertise and talent as well to help us as we get through this initiative and as we move business forward. So with that, let me just make a couple comments about Frank, and then Madam Chair will give him the proper introduction. I've known Frank for a lot of years. I've never known anyone who served on our Palm Beach County School Board who's been as passionate, focused, and dedicated to our public school system in Palm Beach County, and of course Boca Raton, because that is his district, than Frank Barbieri. And we saw that years and years ago when he decided to get into the public realm and run for school board. At that time, our PAC was happy to endorse Frank. And we've done it ever since. And he's been a great friend to us, a great friend to the chamber, a great friend to business. And we appreciate all that he does, and his ever continued commitment to our schools. Nothing short of amazing, Frank. I don't know where you get the energy, but on behalf of the chamber, we thank you for what you're doing, and we've got the right guy as chair of the school district during these very crazy times during COVID-19. So thanks for being here. So your chair, Madam Constance Scott, is going to introduce our speaker, Frank Barbieri. At the end, Constance also has some pretty exciting news relative to FAU, and hopefully there'll be time for her to share that as well, specifically with this group, the Economic Development Group. So with that, welcome everyone, and I'll turn it over to our chair, Constance Scott. Go ahead, Constance.
Thank you so much, Troy. And I want to say, I'm so excited to be talking to all of you, even though we get to really officially see one another. It's great to be together. I mentioned to Troy, I haven't had makeup on in 4 weeks. So I definitely wanted to be on Zoom so that it would have become worthwhile. You know, we wear masks and we wear sunglasses and a big hat. You don't need makeup. And the last thing you want to do is have to scrub that mask off every time. But the other thing that I wanted to share with you is that there is an interesting statistic going around that in 6 to 7 weeks, 88% of the blondes will disappear. So, knowing that statistic potentially to be true, if you look very closely at your screen, I may very well be one of them. But I'm along with Troy. I'm being thrilled to introduce Frank Barbieri, and I don't want him to get a big head because he's on the beach right now, and the last thing I want him to do is to get exposed to more sun and get a sunburn. But Frank, he hails from Akron, Ohio, and he's been a Boca Raton resident since 1984. So coming from the Midwest, and I from the Midwest, you know that there would be a sweet spot there. But Frank was elected to District 5. For those of you who don't know, that's West Boca Raton, the city of Boca, as well as other parts of Palm Beach County. He became board chairman in 2010, 2011, and was elected again November 13th. He was elected to serve as board chairman in 2018 and 19. Since his initial appointment, he has been instrumental in advocating for teachers and for parents. He's also been instrumental in serving on that board through 3 different school superintendents. And I have to tell you, to have the level of flexibility, the level of insight, the ability to work closely with the new superintendent and to move initiatives forward is not an easy task. And that's one of the reasons that you probably see that he was elected chair so many times, because his board members have this tremendous amount of respect for his ability and his vision. Currently, Mr. Barbieri is an attorney with Sachs, Saxon Kaplan in his spare time. It's a major law firm in Boca Raton, and it specializes in HOAs and condo associations. And the law practices with him are areas of estate planning and real estate. Before earning a Juris Doctorate degree at the University of Akron, Mr. Barbieri was a police officer for 11 years. So that lets you know, in terms of his commitment to community, to public safety, and especially to our students, that really makes a difference. As concerned and dedicated citizen of Palm Beach County, Mr. Barbieri has demonstrated a commitment in the area of where he lives. His dedication to Palm Beach County is reflected in his involvement with civic, governmental, and community organizations. And I can state clearly that as a former city councilwoman, when we looked at the possibility of having our own charter school, Frank assisted us so fabulously with helping us put a task force together to, really do an examination if that was something that would be the best thing for Boca Raton. But instead of that, what he did was he took that knowledge and that experience and recognized how much we needed a new school in the city of Boca Raton, and how important it was that we expanded to meet the needs of the business community and the families that were moving in, that he, along with our mayor, Scott Singer, and the city council worked very tirelessly together to make sure that we got that new school. It was the first Southern Bank advisor. He served on the first Southern Bank Advisory Board, Loggers Southern Bank Advisory Board, Loggers Run Middle School, Sandpiper Shores Elementary Advisory Board, West Polka Community Council, Best Foot Forward, Board of Directors, Business Development Board, Board of Directors, Value Adjustment Board, Boca Raton Chamber of Commerce, and the Board of Trustees for the George Snow Scholarship Fund. But probably his most special and important claim to fame, I would guess, would be the fact that he has been married to his beautiful wife, Rita, who, if I'm not mistaken, is either a school teacher or soon to be retired school teacher. He's been married 40 years. My guess is they've also never spent 5 weeks together in their entire marriage. And so based on that, we're delighted to have you, Frank, as our guest today to the Economic Development Committee, and hearing what's going on with our schools. What's your expectations and visions for our students over the next year, and share just whatever you want and whatever you can with us at this time. Again, welcome, and we all envy you being at the beach.
Thank you very much. Actually, Constance, since my wife can hear this in the background, I've been married 49 years. We'll be celebrating our 50th next year. So, and you're right, we haven't spent 5 weeks together ever. And somebody up north asked me, are you guys safe down there in Florida? And I said, well, I think my wife's pretty safe, but I'm not so sure about myself because I saw her cleaning the gun the other day. So we'll see how that works out. But thank you for that introduction. I mean, I was listening to that thinking you were talking about somebody else, but I appreciate that. What I want to do today is kind of tell you where we started with the pandemic, teaching, during the pandemic, and where we are today, and then certainly answer questions, give you some updates on the school rebuild that are going on in the city. So like everyone else in the world, the pandemic abruptly required us to face unparalleled challenges. As the 10th largest school district in the United States with over 175,000 students and 23,000 employees, the challenges were greatly magnified due to the size of our school district. After the decision was made to close the schools for the safety of our students and staff, when with 3 months left in the school year, we knew that our mission of educating 175,000 students had to continue. I mean, we can't just stop in the middle of a school year and say we're done. The kids are on their own. So we had to figure out exactly how to do that, which led to the district identifying 3 priorities that had to be satisfied to accomplish the mission. At the time, we really weren't certain how long we were going to have to educate the children off campus, whether it was going to be a few weeks, a month, but as you probably all know now, last Friday, Governor DeSantis ordered that all schools remain closed, all K-12 schools in the state of Florida remain closed through the balance of the school year. So now we know exactly that, we're going to be teaching these children through the end of the school year, which is May 30th. Next slide, Chastity. Our first priority was determining how we were going to continue feeding hungry children. Although that may seem off mission to some of you, I say continue feeding because the sad reality is that there are thousands of children in the district who would go hungry without the breakfast and lunch they receive from us each school day. For children to learn, they must not be suffering from hunger. Last year alone, the school district served over 32 million meals. As to our first priority, I'm proud to say since the closure of our schools, to the latest figures I received this morning, the school district has served over 1 million meals to those in need, and we continue to deliver those meals at 50 of our school sites located throughout the county. In our immediate area, those sites are Boca Raton High School, Loggers Run Middle School, JC Elementary School, and Hammock Point Elementary School. A complete list of the school district's feeding sites, as well as the sites where other organizations are providing food to families in our community, can be found on the district website at the site that's shown on the screen, palmbeachschools.org/coronavirus. it's important to note that the school district is not the only organization out there feeding the kids and the families. There are many other organizations that are partnering with us that are also providing that service, and a full list of all those feeding sites are on that on the school district's website. I also want to recognize that while we handed out those 1 million meals, those were done by our food service workers who stood for hours out in the hot sun with masks on and passed out those food bags to all the drivers that came through our parking lot. So hats off to them, and of course our bus drivers who cannot be transporting children at the moment are also providing a great service to us because they're transporting the food to our different food sites so that they're picked up by the community. Next slide, Chastity. Our second priority, of course, was to write educational content to be delivered to our students and determine how best to deliver that content. As to this priority, the district's academic team did a phenomenal job in an unbelievably short 2-week period of time in putting all of that together. We have just begun our 3rd week of distance learning. The rollout has been very smooth, which is a reflection of all the planning that the district academic team put into developing our instructional continuity plan. The district's infectious disease plan was first developed by our district's Department of Teaching and Learning in the year 2014 amid the Ebola scare. Our district never reached the crisis level in which was needed, but we were prepared. That original plan incorporated remote instruction through digital and TV platforms. In fact, all TV programming was scheduled in case it was needed. This past February, the team modified that plan in the weeks leading up to the closing of schools to meet the unique demands and challenges of transitioning to distance learning during this global pandemic. What made the difference was that our district already had a framework in place. The response from parents and students has been overwhelmingly positive. Our online platform is Google Classroom. When it came to training our teachers in Google Classroom, those who weren't familiar with the process were quickly brought up to speed by the district's 2,000 Google certified instructors. We have the highest number of Google certified instructors in the United States, and that has truly served as a tremendous source of support during the transition to distance learning. Teachers are providing live and recorded lessons. Recorded lessons are saved in a playlist for students who may not be able to attend live instruction and for students to go back and review at a later date. Next slide, Chastity. The district is committed to providing instruction to students on as many platforms as possible. As a supplement to our digital instructions, we are broadcasting a full lineup of classes from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. daily on 3 different television stations. One is our district-owned and operated television station, the Education Network. We are pushing out programming out on 3 channels. One is dedicated to families without basic cable, another is for families with Comcast cable access, and the third is for families who use AT&T UVerse. We are also streaming the television content on our district website, and we are grateful to Comcast for offering free Wi-Fi and hotspots to families who didn't have internet availability in their homes. Next slide, Chastity. As I've said, we had 3 priorities when we began our distance learning. The first was continuing to provide meals to our children. The second was writing educational content and determining how to deliver that content via distance learning. The third was ensuring that our students had the computers at home that they would need to receive that content. We recognize that Palm Beach County, although being the home to some of the wealthiest families in the country, also was the home to some of the most economically challenged families. We knew there were children who would not have the computers they needed at home to participate in district learning while our brick and mortar schools were not available to them. Our IT and educational technology teams pushed out a survey to more than 240,000 parents asking them about their technology needs. As a result of that survey, our school district has distributed over 75,000 laptops to students in need, and we continue making them available to our students as we are made aware of additional needs. On the very first day of instruction, 149,000 of the district's 175,000 K-12 children signed in digitally through the district student portal. I don't know about you, but that was an amazing number that I saw when we saw how many of the children actually logged in the very first day. Where are we today, you might ask? We have an entire team working to determine why some children don't appear to be participating. We measure participation by the children logging into their student portals. I'm proud to tell you that we have found only 300 children out of 175,000 who are not participating. And of course, the district is able to determine who those children are, and the district is working with those families to get the children involved. What's even more amazing is that the children who were given computers by the district, 99.6% of them are participating in distance learning with the use of those computers. It's important that you understand that we don't measure attendance like we did prior to implementing distance learning. We measure whether the children are involved through engagement and participation. Early on, some of the teachers would call me and say, are we going to have to like log on at 9 o'clock in the morning with our students and log off at 4 if you're in middle school, or 8 o'clock for elementary and off at 2, whatever, for elementary school? And we recognize that that was not going to be possible. First of all, we have children that are that their parents are trying to help them do this. We have teachers that are not only taking care of the kids in the classrooms virtually, but also are taking care of their own families and have their own children running around the house and have to help them with their studies. So the way we measure attendance is not the way we did it before implementing distance learning. We measure whether the children are involved through engagement and participation. So not every student is in every class every day. A teacher may provide assignments that require the student to do the work the next day so that the student is ready to discuss their work with the teacher the next time they are live with their teacher. It's quite funny, actually. I actually got to see one. It's funny to see the children learning this way, especially the elementary kids. I mean, if you have a chance to get to one of the teachers in your neighborhood and get to watch them teach the kids, their elementary school kids, you all familiar with the Hollywood Squares look. I showed it in one of the other screens there. So the teacher sees all these little kids in these little boxes, and some of them are lying on their beds, some of them are playing with their dogs. I mean, the kids are, some of them are eating hot dogs, and it's just funny to watch the kids, but they're all engaged because when the teacher calls on them, they answer, questions, and they're engaged with their teachers. But it's really amazing how the children have adapted so quickly to learning this way. And we're learning a lot of lessons on how we can continue doing a lot of this virtual learning as the pandemic subsides and we get back to normal, if there will ever be another normal. Hopefully there will at some point. Next slide. The district's high level of customer service has also worked very well in keeping parents, students, and staff informed, and has helped to reduce anxiety greatly. As you can imagine, there were thousands of calls from parents who needed technical support and assistance after receiving those computers. Our phone bank operators and our IT desk answered each and every call and walked parents through the process of getting connected and using Google Classroom. We have a coronavirus hotline that is staffed from 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. every single day. The number is 561-969-5840. It's there on your screen. It is staffed with district personnel who are able to answer questions in English, Spanish, and Haitian Creole. Next slide. We have established 2 separate web pages where parents are able to get information 24/7. PalmBeachSchools.org/coronavirus is the first site the district established and is dedicated to coronavirus information. The website also lists at-home learning resources, food distribution sites, links for resources for emotional wellness, and many other resources. These are all translated into other languages as well for our students that aren't, English is not their first language. Next slide. Our instructional continuity plan, which is the backbone of our distance learning initiative, can be found at our other website, which is palmbeachschools.org/distance learning, where parents can find frequently asked questions and answers, where students can log into their student portal, as well as find information on many other of the resources available to them through the district. Next slide. Teaching remotely is not the desired state, but right now it is the required state. While looking at this challenge, I also see opportunity. We now have thousands of computers in the hands of students who didn't have digital technology at home. We have helped arrange for families with no internet to get it for free. Parents who may have been unfamiliar with technology are now learning how to use a computer out of necessity. Parents also now have a front row seat to their child's classroom. The teacher is in their living room, which gives parents a greater understanding of how their children are being taught and what their children are being taught. I believe one of the very valuable benefits is that parents are going to get a whole new perspective of the challenges teachers face in K-12 education, and our teachers will gain the long overdue respect from many of our parents. These are the positives coming out of this unprecedented situation. You can turn off that slide now, Chastity. So on a personal note, I'd like to thank Superintendent Fenoy and all of his employees of the district who continue to work each day during this pandemic to assist our educators in providing distance learning for our students during this unparalleled times in our lives. I especially want to thank our teachers. I do it often, and Troy knows how I feel about teachers. He and I meet on a regular basis, and I'm always bragging to him about how great our educators are in this district. I've said many times, I believe that we have the best teachers in the state of Florida, which undoubtedly has led to Palm Beach County being the highest performing urban school district in the state of Florida. Our teachers have always risen to the occasion in the past, and I'm proud that they have chosen to do it once again for us and work for us here in Palm Beach County, and I hope you're all proud of them too. I want to cover a couple other things. The graduations have been a big issue. We're wrestling. I'm sure, Constance, you have the same issue at the university. There's none of us really want to take that time in the spotlight away from our graduating seniors. I mean, it's heartbreaking that we tell these kids that they can't walk across that stage and get their diploma like every kid in the past has done on his graduation day. And we've looked at a lot of different alternatives. One suggestion was we waited until the summer to see if the pandemic lifted enough to get the kids to come back and do it then. The suggestion would be to do it at the high schools and the football fields. Some of the principals said they could do it on their football fields in July, and I said to them, there are probably more people going to the hospital and ambulance because of heat exhaustion than the infection. So that doesn't sound like a realistic way to do it. So that the education network has actually put together a virtual graduation, and I've seen it. It's going to be amazing. It's all being pre-recorded, and it's going to be done on schedule so that it'll be broadcast on the education network as well as the television stations we have available on the district. So parents and grandparents and uncles and aunts and siblings all over the country and world can actually log on and watch. But the principals are going to give a speech. The principals are going to have their Val, Sal, their whoever they would normally have give speeches. Those kids will be on screen giving their speeches, and the superintendent will of course address all the graduates, and then of course we'll have the high school graduates' pictures come across the screen one at a time with somebody reading their name. So they're going to get that recognition, and we're also I've been contacted. In fact, I contacted Jaden Manuel, who sits on the school board with us as the student government representative for Palm Beach County. And I asked Jaden for some input, and some of the input that we're getting from the students is it's not so much that they missed the graduation, it's missed that they can't say goodbye to their friends and their teachers. So, I've told the superintendent, I hope that he will encourage the principals to do something during the summer. If it's nothing more than bringing just the seniors back to the schools, if we get to that point where the kids can get their yearbooks signed by their friends, they can take pictures with their friends, they can say goodbye to their teachers, and do all the things that kids normally do at the end of a school year that they didn't get a chance to do. They were abruptly told to leave the school in the middle of March, and none of them got to say goodbye. In fact, a lot of them have a lot of their belongings still in our lockers, which is another issue that we're facing. We have these schools that at the time, we didn't know how long they were going to be closed, and so we didn't tell the children, take everything out of your lockers and take it home with you. So, of course, a lot of the kids left their belongings there, and it's especially important for some of the seniors because they're going off to colleges and they need the things that are in their lockers. And we're trying to figure out the safest way to allow the children to come into the schools to get their belongings. At a school like Boca High School with over 3,000 students, how do you bring 3,000 students in there safely, a little at a time, to empty lockers? It's a major challenge for the school district, and we're trying to figure out the best way to do that. Which brings up the other challenge that we have is in construction. Our construction of the schools in the Boca area are still right on time. Verde Elementary is on schedule. It should be done this summer, just as we thought it would be. Addison Meisner is scheduled to be vacated by the teachers and students to move to the temporary school. So for those of you who don't know, we built a temporary school next to Don Estridge High-Tech Middle School across the street from Lynn University. That's on land that the city has made available to us. It sits on approximately 12 acres there. What we did with that school is we leased the buildings there because it was less expensive than trying to buy enough concretable. So we leased the buildings and we moved all of the teachers and students from Verde Elementary School at the beginning of this last school year to that temporary site. And we demolished Verde Elementary this year, and we're in the process of finishing up the rebuild. That school was originally a K-5. It's being rebuilt as a K-8 to take over some of the overcrowding in some of the city schools. So we're going to be adding 6th, 7th, and 8th grade to what was a K-5 school there. This summer, we're scheduled to move the 30 teachers and all their stuff out of the temporary school to the new Verde Elementary School and move the Addison Meisner teachers into the temporary school, which brings a problem for us because we now have to get the teachers into Addison Meisner to pack up their stuff before we tear down the building, and we have to get the Verde people out of the temporary school in order to get the Addison Meisner teachers over there. So it was going to be, you know, kind of a challenge anyway to schedule that, but now it's even more of a challenge because we can't just let the teachers all go to school and empty their classrooms and put, you know, hundreds of employees at risk in that close proximity to one another. So we're trying to work through those details, but everything's still on schedule. Verde is going to be finished this summer. Addison Meisner, assuming we can get everything moved out of it, will be destroyed this summer, and a new school will be started. The construction will start with the objective that school will be done at the end of the 2021 school year, at which time we will move the Addison Meisner children from the temporary school back to their brand new Addison Meisner, and we'll remove the leased buildings from the land the city's given us, and we're going to build a brand new elementary school there. Currently, we designated that school as 05C. It'll, of course, be given a name, but that school is intended to take a lot of the overcrowding that we currently have in the city schools. J.C. Mitchell is almost at capacity. Calusa Elementary is well over capacity. Boca High's at capacity. Boca Elementary is at capacity. Most of the elementary schools in the city are at or near capacity. So this new school that's intended to house about 900 students will certainly take over a lot of the occupancy concerns that we have in the other elementary schools. So hopefully we'll stay on track with that one. I know that I thank the city council all the time for this because the city is donating the land to the school district to build that brand new school. And we're in the final stages of working with the city on identifying exactly how much land we need to construct a school at that site. If there's questions that you want to ask me, I probably have other things that I could tell you that I didn't put here in my notes that I wanted to cover today, but I'd be happy to answer questions for any of you that have them.
Yeah, we have one question already in the chat box. One of our viewers asks, what has the county learned from this that can be translated into classrooms later when things are more normalized? For example, expanding online learning or using technology to improve education or even sanitation practices.
Well, certainly the sanitation practice. I mean, we were pretty good about cleaning the schools anyway, but I mean, we've got a whole new, outlook on how that's done. So, you know, obviously we're learning much more about sanitation, you know, working with the experts that can tell us how to sanitize our schools and make sure they're perfectly safe for the kids. But the distance learning is really giving us, I think, a lot of insight in how we can offer more virtual classes, and how the parents can become more involved with the children in the classroom. So I'm hoping that the district will offer a lot more virtual classes in the years to come based on what we're learning and how we're able to do it and how well it's going. Of course, our teachers went through a huge learning curve because none of them, I would say none of them, but probably 99% of them hadn't done this kind of work before. So they've learned now how to teach children virtually, and it's a learning experience for them that I'm sure that they'll be able to use in the future when they want to give assignments and talk to their kids. And maybe we have hurricane days where the kids can't come to school, or we have other issues where we can't get the kids into the classroom, but we'll be able to use the virtual learning training that they've all gotten and the kids now have gotten to continue their education while they're at home.
Thank you. Another question, have any decisions been made on summer programming in the schools? Will they be open?
The decisions haven't been made yet. It all kinds of depends, as all of you could probably guess, as to what this virus does. I mean, if it, I'm afraid that even if the district wanted to open up the schools, if we felt it was safe, that the majority of our parents wouldn't. They wouldn't send their kids back. I just don't think the parents are, unfortunately, I don't think parents are really going to feel secure until there's a vaccine and there's some treatment for people to get it that cures them. So, and that's a ways off. So I can't see us doing any summer classes just because of, maybe we'll do virtual classes, of course, but that bring the kids back into the schools, I just don't see that. I mean, the decision hasn't been made, but I don't foresee that as a possibility.
Those are all of the questions in the chat box right now. Just a reminder, if you do have a question, you can raise your hand or put them in the chat box. It's at the bottom of your Zoom screen.
Come on, you guys, or I'm going to go back out on the beach here in Tahiti and enjoy a mimosa or something.
Hey, Frank, this is Troy.
Yeah, Troy.
What kind of financial impact was it to the district to issue, I can't remember how many thousands of laptops to those students that didn't have one or didn't have access to something at home to do distant learning?
Well, I mean, we gave out 75,000 of our laptops, and I guess the real test of how that's going to impact us is what we're going to do to get those back. I mean, there's been some talk about allowing the children to keep them. The kids that have them, now they know how to use them for distance learning, talk to their teachers. So, you know, the superintendent has talked to us about possibly allowing the children to keep the computers they have at home so that every child has one that they can use for class, and the district will then replace those. We've had some very generous business partners that have come forward. One lady recently wrote a check for two checks for $500,000 each. One was for helping us with the food, and another one was to buy computer equipment. I know the Education Foundation, which many of our viewers here in this group probably belong to on that board. I mean, they've done, James Gavrilos has done an outstanding job of brought in hundreds of thousands of dollars for the computer equipment and technology needs of the district. So I don't know what the true cost is, but I know a lot of that cost has been covered by the business community and the community in general by the donations that they're providing to the district. We had a drive where people could either buy a computer for us or give us money to buy computers. And I know we raised tens of thousands of dollars for that also.
Great.
We have a couple questions. When will be the last day of school for seniors?
The last day of school for seniors is probably when the seniors don't want to talk to us anymore. I would imagine, you know, they usually zone out on us sometime in March anyway, March and April. Some of them have some exams they have to take. I'm not sure when the last day is, but since we're not going to penalize them at the end, as long as they're passing their courses, I'm sure that when they disappear off of our screens, we'll know that the last day for that student has arrived. But that's not the official way we're going to terminate the end of the school year for the seniors, but in reality, that a lot of the teachers, in a normal school year, the seniors leave earlier than everybody else, and some of them are probably already started to check out on us.
Next question, will there likely be actual class next fall?
That's a good question. People ask me that all the time. I hope to God we're able to come back to school in the fall, because although distance learning is working, it's not the best way to teach these kids. You know, we're hoping that early on when the superintendent and I discussed, and discussed how long we expected our teachers to be on the computer during the day with their kids, he said, you know, Frank, if we can get 3 quality hours of education to our children each day, that would be the goal, you know, because the kids aren't used to it, the teachers aren't used to it, and I'd hate to see us go into the fall with that outlook again, where we have, you know, the kids are only getting 3 hours of education. Luckily, we were, you know, 2/3 of the way through the school year, so that most of what they needed to get for this grade level, they received already. But they try and educate them in new subjects and new courses and with new teachers at the beginning of a school year is going to be a huge challenge. So I'm hoping in August, maybe we push back the starting date and we don't start in August. I mean, that's the discussion I've also had with the superintendent is we don't start in August, maybe we'll have to start in September or even later. But the hope is that we'll be able to bring the kids back into the classrooms next school year.
Thank you. That is all the questions for right now.
There was a question that pops up on my screen. I'm not sure. Can you see those, Chastity?
Yeah.
They come up for a minute and then they're gone. So can you read those?
Yes. So one person asked, how can small business owners like myself help? What needs are unmet at the present time?
You know, if there are any people out there that want to help us, I can put you in touch with the Education Foundation, because that's the best. They're like the conduit between the business community and the community in general and the school district. I mean, they're they're business people that they get it, and and they know how to help us. The Education Foundation knows where the help is needed, and they can certainly and we certainly take any help we can get at this point. So if there's some of them out there, if they want to let me know, you can email me or let Troy know. My email address is frank.barbieri@palmbeachschools.org. If you have an interest in helping in some way, I can put you in touch with James Gavrilos with the Education Foundation. I can provide you his contact information, or I'm sure he would call you. When I gave him the name of the lady that wanted to donate $1 million, he was on the phone within 10 minutes. And so he followed up on that one and got the check. So we're good to go on that.
Amazing, Frank. Amazing. Are there other questions, Chastity?
Yes, so someone had a comment and question. They said, thank you to you and your team for moving so quickly to put things in place. For the seniors, is there a plan for any exit virtual session or class to prep them for the new normal after graduation?
I'm not sure. I know the answer to that. No, I don't know. There are no plans as far as I know, but board members don't always know exactly what the administration's planning. I mean, we get the major stuff, but the superintendent is meeting with I know he has almost daily meetings now with his executive cabinet on issues that have faced the district. So there may be discussions on that. We have a workshop tomorrow afternoon, our first virtual workshop since the pandemic started here in our county. And the superintendent's going to give all of us an update on what they've been working on. So if any of you are interested, you can tune into that. It's going to be on the Comcast channel, the district's Comcast channel as well, on our district website. You can go to the district website and you can watch that workshop live, where the district administration, I know that the chief academic officer, the chief operating officer, the superintendent, the chief of staff, the general counsel are all going to be giving the board updates on exactly what they've been doing, what the plans are. So that'll all be available tomorrow.
What's the time of that meeting?
I knew you were going to ask me that. I was hoping you weren't. I turned my phone off.
That's okay.
I turned it off so it wouldn't keep buzzing. I think it's at 2 or 3 o'clock, but I'm not sure. The following Wednesday, we have a full board meeting. For the first full board meeting, that's at 5 o'clock, a week from the following Wednesday. So, and there's lots and lots of agenda items. The superintendent warned me that the agenda is very, very long because we haven't had a meeting for a while. We have lots of the construction items there. We're not only building schools in Boca Raton, but we have schools under construction in other parts of the county. We're building the same as we're doing with Addison and Verde. There's schools that are being rebuilt in different parts of the county, as well as we're beginning the process for building a brand new middle school next to Sunset Palms Elementary, which is at Boynton Beach and in the Turnpike, as well as a new high school that's been approved. It's up in the north central part of the district out west. It's more west, I guess, to take some of the challenges off of the occupancy at some of our high schools up that way. So there are several schools that are under construction, and the district definitely needs the board's input on getting those contracts approved.
Hey, Sophia, this is Troy. Did you ask the question about whether or not the district had to furlough any staff? Did I miss that?
No, I haven't asked that yet.
Oh, okay. So I'm asking that, Frank, has the district had to furlough any staff?
No, we have not yet. We know our budget didn't change from what we had. The superintendent has froze all hiring. He has frozen all budgets. So we're not spending any money. We're not hiring anybody, and we're not, like I said, the budgets have been frozen for all the different departments without his, he's got to give direct authority, approval before any money is spent out of those budgets. So we're able to operate on our current budget that was approved by the legislature last year. So far we're good, and we don't anticipate any furloughs before the end of the school year, which ends June 30th for our employees.
And Frank, can you talk a little bit more? I mean, the food program is nothing short of amazing here, and it really puts into perspective that the district is as much of a provider of food as it is of education. How is that working? Where does the food come from? I know it's pickup at all the schools. Who's providing the food? Is the district buying that food as part of their contract? Can you explain that?
Yeah, so our food service department has always been a department that's able to cover its own costs without any influx of taxpayer money because of the, we sell the food to the kids, even some of them get it free and reduced, but there's enough money coming in to pay for the food. So the food is purchased through the federal program, I guess. I'm not for sure exactly which program it is that provides where we buy the food from, but it's typically comes right into our food service department, and the food service workers are the ones that are preparing the food. The food is not hot lunches and things like that, of course. These are to-go bags. So we put the kids, we put breakfast in the, breakfast in the breakfast bag. We, the different things that they eat for breakfast, and then in the lunch bag. What we started when we first did this, we were doing it every day for some of the schools, 32 schools, from I think 11 to 1 or 11 to 2. We've changed that. In fact, next week we have 50 sites open, and the food will be given out once a week, but we'll give out enough. I understand that the food that's in the bags doesn't spoil. Needs to be refrigerated. So when the parents come through to pick up the food, we'll give them food for the entire week when they come through at whatever site they're coming to. But the food is prepared by our, it's bagged and made ready by our food service workers. Our transportation people, as I said earlier, our bus drivers and other transportation people are working to get the food to the drop-off site so that when the cars come, the parents come, the food is there for them.
So there's no need then to connect with maybe some of our restaurants across the county to provide. You've got the food, you've got the staff to deliver it, the infrastructure's in place.
Yeah, but that's not to say we've been asked. There's organizations out there that want to partner with us. It was easier for us to have them work on their own sites rather than provide food for us because of the interaction with employees and people coming in that aren't. It was just better to keep our employees safe and secure from other people coming in. So there's a lot of food sites have been set up by other organizations. Some of them have actually contacted me directly, and I put them in touch with the district. Some of them go directly to the chief operating officer and have talked to her about some kind of partnership. But at this point, we're just doing it on our own. And I know that like I said, a lot of the other organizations are providing food at different sites.
Great, thank you.
You're welcome.
Are there any other questions, Sophia?
No, that is all of the questions. Thank you.
Before I ask Chairwoman Scott to talk about some exciting news happening at FAU that she shared before we opened up the call, I just want to recognize that the chairman of our Golden Bell Education Foundation, Chuck Stout, is with us in the call. Chairman Stout, welcome and thank you for joining us. As many of you on the call know, that the Chambers Foundation, Golden Bell, has supported the local public schools in Boca Raton grades K-12 since its inception in 1991 to the tune of about $1.7 million in grants and support to the local public schools. So, and we've reached record numbers under the leadership of Chuck Stout, and therefore he is now a chairman of the foundation in perpetuity.
Is that up for vote, Troy?
No, there's no vote. It's done. But thank you.
Well, I would like to say to Frank and really all the teachers and principals, it's been amazing how quickly they were thrust into this and how smoothly it's gone. And I agree that parents are going to have a whole new appreciation for teachers, and we're looking forward to getting back to normal. It might be a while, but Frank, thank you so much for all you're doing. We really appreciate it.
You're welcome. Thank you for what you do for us too. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right, Madam Chair, would you like to share some news about FAU and how you're helping those students?
Yes, absolutely. Chuck, I want to say thank you to you. Frank, of course, it's wonderful to see you, and congratulations to you and Rita on 49 years. And it's wonderful to be with everyone who's been on the call today. It's been absolutely wonderful. And this is why economic development is so important, because we work as a team together. You heard business, business, business all during this meeting. Why? Because it's the business community that we thrive on, and that's what we're working to salvage, and that's what we're excited about, the opportunities that are coming forward. We've got great leadership at our national level. We've got great leadership at our state level, And the team is working together well. Governor DeSantis has put together an amazing task force. There's a program called the CARES Act that was approved by Congress. And there are funds in there that have been sent to the universities. And Florida Atlantic University has been fortunate to receive a total of about $22 million, and $14 million of that is targeted specifically for students. It has to go to students and their needs. The university has set up a program called Boca Cares. Interestingly enough, this foundation was set up prior to the pandemic, and it had a few $1,000s in it. But we now have the opportunity to fund that and to reach out on the first level to our Pell Grant students to let them know that these funds are available for their assistance, and then to all of our students. As I mentioned earlier, we have about 60% of our students have to work a part-time job. So it's challenging for them if they've lost those part-time jobs in order to be able to continue to go to school and meet their needs. Some students have come home instead of living in an apartment that they rented. They've now moved back home, and it turns out that their parents aren't working. And so, the support that they need financially isn't there. This is an opportunity for funds that are tax dollars that have gone to the federal government now are going to come back to us in a form to be able to help our students be able to benefit from. And that program already has 1,400 students that have applied for funds. We also have a program that Dr. Laura Cohen, who is on our Jupiter campus, who are in the Boca, Jupiter, Davie, Fort Lauderdale area, or students that are struggling right now, maybe financial issues, emotional issues, stress issues, all of those types of things, and they are getting to be able to have care and treatment in terms of any type of therapy that is deemed necessary, either at a discount or at gratis. So that service is available to our students as well. What else did I share, Troy?
No, you got it all. I mean, congratulations to FAU. Thank you for all your efforts and all that you do, not just for FAU, but our entire community here in the FAU community. That's great news. That's a nice benefit for the students, as you mentioned, who need that. And it's good to see that FAU was eligible for some of those CARES Act funds.
Absolutely. One of the reasons also, we are one of the top universities in the country in terms of our Hispanic population and students. So this is an opportunity for us also to be able to continue to serve that community that is in dire need as well. And I did want to mention our student hours as well. Frank and I spoke earlier. Our students they have been on remote learning, on online learning since March, and they will be continuing through the spring semester, which starts on June 7th and runs until I believe it's August 7th. That will also be remote learning and online learning. No future decisions have been made by our trustees on that as well.
Perfect. Well, congrats on all that. I'd like to, again, thank Chair Scott for her leadership. Thank you, Chairman Barbieri, for all that you're doing. As I mentioned at the top of the meeting, we're glad that you're carrying the chairman's gavel through these unprecedented times where we know that it'll never be the same, and whatever it looks like in the business side, in the travel tourism side, in the education realm, it's not going to be the same. And we're writing our own playbook here as we go along. But thanks to you all for your leadership, and thanks to everyone who joined the call. I hope that you are staying connected with us. We've gone completely virtual. The only thing that we haven't done since the outset is have big annual events where we have large gatherings. Every other piece of our programmatic activity is just like this. We have multiple Zooms every day, whether it's a committee meeting, the government affairs still meets, the tourism committee still meets, this committee. ambassadors, leads groups, you name it, the vertical groups, women's group, under 40, over 40, all the stuff that we were doing before we are continuing to do. We feel like that is priority for us to keep you connected and engaged. I send out a CEO message 2 times a week, every Tuesday and Friday. I hope that you're reading that. We spend a lot of time in preparing that message to give you critical content, critical information. If there is something that you would like to see from us that we're not doing, we want to hear that too. We're all in this together, and the team's working very hard to provide you with all the information and education that you need. But if there's something more you need, contact me directly or anybody on the team, and we'd love to chat with you and hopefully find a solution. Our educational webinars have been extremely successful. We're going to continue those as we go through this until or unless we don't need them. But we're becoming experts at Zoom. It does give us an opportunity, as Constance said, to actually see each other. It's very refreshing. I can't wait till the time when I can shake someone's hand or give someone a hug. But we're going to still, as Chairman Stout said, we're going to be in this for a little while longer. So let's maintain our patience. We're being tested, and we're doing everything we can for economic development. And as I mentioned earlier, our Moving Business Forward initiative is going to help us identify when and how best we can reopen and restart our economy here locally. So with that, thank you everybody for joining. We'll see you on these many Zoom calls before next month when we resume for this committee. But everybody stay safe, and we'll see you soon. Thanks. Thanks, Frank. Thanks, Constance. Thanks, Chuck.